Good morning. This is Ted Murmagos, and I'm the Division Director here in the state of Delaware at the Division of Child Support Services. Just wanted to say that today is Tuesday, the 6th of September, because yesterday was a state holiday. It was Labor Day, so we are doing the Child Support Connection today. And I want to welcome those who are joining us live or watch this video at a later date. The Child Support Connection is a monthly event that we hold to allow our clients, custodial parents and non-custodial parents, the opportunity to ask questions about child support here in Delaware. Sometimes I don't have the answers, and we usually suggest that someone, if you ask a question and I don't know the answer, that you send us a personal message with your case number, and it gives us an opportunity to, and your contact information, and it gives us some time to look at the case and be able to give you specific information related to your child support case here in the state of Delaware. But I do my best to try and answer your questions, and hopefully I've been able to help some individuals along the way. So this is the September Child Support Connection here in Delaware. Next month we will be back on Monday, the first Monday of every month. We do this 1-hour video live session. It's October 3rd will be our next, Monday, October 3rd will be our next Child Support Connection after today. So as you know, if you've joined us in the past, what I always like to start with is reading to folks our mission statement here in Delaware at the Division of Child Support. So it's our mission here at the Division of Child Support Services is to provide quality customer support by partnering with parents, both parents, to improve the lives of children and their families. This is achieved through obtaining accurate child support orders to meet the financial, medical, and emotional needs, to promote family self-sufficiency and what we hope the best outcomes for children in Delaware and for those individuals that have cases in other states around the country. So that's our mission statement. And if you've tuned in before, you may have heard me say this mission statement is really only about 3 or 4 years old. We made some changes after 2015. And I like this mission statement much better than our previous mission statement, which was, in my opinion, was all business. And we are a different agency than we were several years ago, and we certainly want to help both parents understand the child support process here in Delaware. We want to make sure that both parents know how to maneuver through the child support system here in Delaware. We certainly want to be a partner in that process, whether it's with the family court, with the Department of Justice, or with the folks that we work, our stakeholders like employers and other state agencies around Delaware that we work with. We want to make sure that what we're doing is in the best interest of the families here in the state of Delaware. So not only am I doing, we do this Child Support Connection once a month, first Monday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30. The reason why we do it at that time during the day is hopefully we can attract some people who have child support situations that are working and maybe are on their lunch break, and they can tune in for part of this event so that we can help them understand child support. The other thing that I do on a regular basis is I go to 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. It's a local radio station on the third Wednesday of every month from 10 to 11. And that radio station actually is in Sussex County here in Delaware and does have some reaches into Kent County. We go, myself and Jake Smith, we are on the radio for an hour from 10 to 11, and we take calls from individuals with questions about child support, and like I do here, I try to answer those questions to the best that I can. And additionally, if people want to, they can send Jake an email, and he forwards them to me, and I go ahead and get right back to those individuals to try to answer their questions. So that's on the third Wednesday of every month from 10 to 11. These child support connections are from on our first Monday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30. One of the things I like to do, and let me just make sure I don't have any questions. Sometimes I get in the chat section. Sometimes I get behind, and so I want to try to stay up on it. And there is a question here. So this question is. I work for a law firm, and I've been trying to contact someone at DCSS. We are trying to find out if our client owes anything for child support. I've been calling 577-7171. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Child Support Connection. I'm sorry that you had to go to this lengths in order to get some information about one of your clients. So my suggestion would be you can contact us. We several years ago attended a conference here in Delaware of attorneys in the state of Delaware, and we said that if any attorney in the state of Delaware needs information, they've tried calling customer service and they're having a hard time getting through, that they can always call the office of the director, and we will work hard to get you that information with our colleagues here or in our office. So if you've tried contacting that number, you can certainly reach out to the director's office, and I'll give you that phone number. It's 302-395-6520, and someone here can follow up with you and get you that information. And again, I'm sorry you've had a hard time getting a hold of someone through our customer service unit. And we'll be more than happy to follow up on your request. So, but thank you for that question. So what I always like to do when we have some downtime, I always like to run through a few things that we're working on here at the Child Support Office. One of the biggest things that we are dealing with right now is trying to look at individuals who have had their licenses suspended. If you tuned into any of these child support connections in the past, you know that we do talk about the license suspension program. The license suspension program is one of the most talked about things, programs, enforcement tools that we have here at Child Support. And one of the things that I always like to tell people is there are certain enforcement tools that we take on, but we can't do that enforcement tool without noticing the non-custodial parent. And license suspension is one of those programs. We have to, by law, send you a letter that tells you that you are delinquent, that you have not made a payment, you're not meeting your obligation, you have a right to an administrative hearing. But if you don't respond to that letter, after 20 days, we are going to go ahead and move that license suspension process along. So people have had their licenses suspended in Delaware, and it's not only a driver's license, but it's a business license, a professional license, or a recreational license. People have had their licenses suspended for years, and either they forgot about it, or they know about it and just have been driving careful. But if your license has been suspended for non-payment and you are now making payments and you've been making them consistently through an employer, we encourage people to call us and let's have a conversation about how we can get you your license back. Now, if there's a family court capias, which is a civil bench warrant, the only way to get that license returned to you is or reinstated is to go to family court and resolve that capias. And we are always encouraging people to do that, to go to family court, resolve the capias. The capias was probably issued for failure to attend a hearing or to get genetic testing done. So they're probably just the court will most likely reschedule that hearing. Now, we're working on a special project here at Child Support to look at cases whose licenses have been suspended for non-payment, not capiases, but non-payment. And if payments are now coming in, we are looking at those cases and making a determination as to whether that license can be returned to the non-custodial parent. And we've gone back several years, and we're looking at those cases a little bit more closely. Hopefully the results will be in a couple weeks, and we can share more information about how well how well we are doing in returning some licenses to non-custodial parents. Now, non-custodial parents whose licenses are being reinstated, they still have to pay the fees at the licensing agency. That's something we can't waive. We don't have that authority. But we want to work closely with non-custodial parents. That notice that we send out to people should be the start of a conversation. We want to talk to you. That's basically what that letter is saying. We want to talk to you about how to avoid getting your license suspended, and what can we do to work with you to get some regular payments in the door, get those payments out to the custodial parent. So we're working really, really hard to look at that license suspension process. The other thing that we've been doing a lot of is looking at the Delaware laws, Delaware code. What can we do? What can we change in the Delaware code that would be a little bit more 21st century type of stuff? Looking at ways to improve the child support program. And I've said this before, if you have an idea that you think will benefit the child support program, we want to hear from you. We are not shy about listening to ideas from the public. And if it's something that we can do and it makes sense to do, we'll consider it and run it and run it through the approval process. So that's something that we are also working on. And most recently, this is something too that we're going to be talking a lot about here in Delaware. We, on a national level, have been working with other states around the country to publish a survey, a national survey about the child support program. Is going to be coming out in early October. And we want as many people from Delaware to take part in that survey, whether you have a child support case, an existing child support case, or whether you don't have a case. And I think that's really the folks that this survey is geared to, even though you can have a case already and could be getting child support. We want people to take that survey, and we're going to be promoting it in the beginning of October to get as many people as possible from our state to take that survey. Survey results are anonymously sent to our colleagues in the state of California, who is basically taking the lead on adding up all of the results and completing a report that will be issued to all of the states. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be pushing out some information on our Facebook page about the survey and really encouraging people to take that survey and help us really understand ways that we can either do things better or reasons why people are not taking advantage when they are not taking advantage of the child support program here in Delaware and in other states around the country. So that's a couple things, but when I talk about legislatively, I'm really looking for some ideas that will help promote the child support program and positive changes that will help ensure that non-custodial parents are making those payments, and then that those payments can be sent out to custodial parents in a timely fashion. So, yeah, I'm open to ideas when possible. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just checking to make sure there's no other questions. If anyone is tuning in and you have a question or a comment or a thought, feel free to put it in the comment section and I'll read it and hopefully do my best to try and answer any questions that you may have. The other thing that I'm actively trying to promote, not only that survey, the national survey, but I'm also trying to promote the customer, what we call the customer website. Now that's different than the regular child support website. The customer website is a interactive website that custodial and non-custodial parents who have a child support case number can actually go to my.delaware.gov, my.delaware.gov, and create a username and password. And once you've created that password, you would be able to, one of the apps in the my.delaware.gov website is the child support customer website. You would download that customer website and then create a separate username and password, and it gives you so much information to your child support case. It allows you to submit information to us electronically and for us to submit documents back to you electronically. It gives you an option to print an account statement from home. It allows you to, this is what I like the best about part of it, is it allows you as a child support recipient or a non-custodial parent to actually email your child support worker. So that first individual who put a comment in our comment section, she was having trouble reaching someone through the 577-7171 number. So to call can be hard sometimes, but if you have that customer website, you can actually email your worker and they'll respond to you directly through the customer website. So it's got so many benefits. So I'm always trying to encourage people, if you can download that customer website through the my.delaware.gov app, you're going to get access that many people don't have. If you have trouble downloading anything, or you need help creating that username and password, then you can contact our customer service unit at 577-7171, and they will be able to help you overcome any barriers to that customer website. Thank you. This is exactly what I was hoping your comments said. There is what do they call that? A testimonial in our comment section that the customer website is useful and helpful, and that's great. I'm really appreciative that you're using it and that it's helpful. That's awesome. I'm gonna like that on behalf of the child support program. And so the customer website is something that I'm really trying to push because I want more and more people to sign up for it. It's definitely something, as this writer can contest, it's very helpful. So as part of the child support program here in Delaware, it's not only child support. In the state of Delaware, we are what they call a judicial state. So although we do have some administrative functions here at the child support program, all of the court orders come from the family court. The family court is the entity that will create a child support obligation. So child support is different than divorce. It's different than domestic violence issues. It's different than custody. And it's also different than visitation. So all of those things are treated differently at the family court. So as being a judicial state, we have to take steps to get the family court involved when an individual needs a child support order, needs a modification of that child support order, or needs a revocation of that child support order. And if the non-custodial parent is not paying or not meeting the letter of that current child support order, we sometimes have to file contempt petitions with the family court. But the family court is that entity that will review filings by the child support program And for that matter, individuals can go into family court and file their own documents. The courts will determine what those child support obligations are and will help with the enforcement of previous orders that have been created and maybe are not being followed by non-custodial parents. So the reason why I'm saying all of this is because oftentimes there's some confusion about the responsibilities of the child support program versus what are the responsibilities of the family court. So I always like to try to make sure that people understand that there are separate responsibilities. The court will treat the child support program as litigants, as they should and as we are. They are required to be as objective as possible, and we are litigants. The child support program is a litigant of the family court, and the attorneys at the Department of Justice are the child support program's attorneys, and they help us file documents with the family court, and they help the child support program handle those filings when they're scheduled before a family court commissioner at family court. And at mediation, a child support worker would be in attendance, but at a commissioner's level hearing, that's when the Department of Justice, as the child support program's attorney, would go and attend those hearings on behalf of the child support program. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear. There are specific duties and responsibilities, and one of the other things that we often talk about is incarceration. Our view here at the child support program is that incarceration should only be used as a last resort. And incarceration can only be done by the family court, and normally, practically in every case, they do use it as a last resort. It's only when individuals continue to flaunt the fact that they are not going to follow an existing court order that the courts will, in some cases, incarcerate people until they get on board for making child support payments regularly. That's we here at Child Support, we really want non-custodial parents to work with us, and it's important, I feel, that in order to have a cohesive child support, consistent payments coming in, it's really something that both parents have to work together on. And it's something that we want to work closely with non-custodial parents to make sure that if they don't have a means to make payments, we certainly want to help them find ways to make child support payments, whether it's helping them find employment opportunities or whether it's referring them to employment and training programs. We want to be able to help non-custodial parents, and for that matter, custodial parents who are looking for jobs to find employment here in Delaware. And that leads me to one other thing too. The state of Delaware has and is experiencing a higher vacancy rate than we have had in the past, and that includes the child support program. A lot of people have retired or have moved from public service to the private industry. So if anyone, custodial parent, non-custodial parent, is looking for employment or want to find maybe employment that's a little bit more secure, I would encourage everyone to go to the state of Delaware's website. At the top of the website, there's a button that you can click for directory. And if you look for the Department of Human Resources, that is the state entity that helps, that keeps track of jobs that are vacant in the state and helps to fill those positions. So if you go to the Department of Human Resources, there are tons of good jobs in all three counties that if you're looking for work, I would encourage you to go to the state of Delaware's website and consider applying for a state job. Consider applying for a job here at Child Support. We do have both custodial and non-custodial parents working for us here at Child Support. We have ways to protect child support cases that people, including myself, should not have access to. We can protect those cases. So I'm encouraging people, if you're looking for a job and you want a job with the state of Delaware, this is the time to apply, because there are a lot of vacancies in all 3 counties, and I would encourage you to apply if you're looking for a job. So what I have, if there's no other questions, and I don't see any, what I have is I do have a few things that we can talk about, and I can share with you about child support. And the overarching question here is, who must pay child support? Who must pay child support? So under Delaware law, you know, obviously, you know, this goes without saying, both parents are required to pay child support, or responsible, I should say, responsible for supporting a child. If the parents are not living together, either parent may ask the court for a child support order, and then the courts will determine which parent is required to pay child support. So if the parents are not living together, they could have been married at one time, they could never have been married, the courts can help put in a child support order for either of the parents. And one of the first things that has to happen, no court order will be put in place for financial or medical support until paternity is established. So in Delaware, there are 3 ways that paternity is established in the state. The first way is if the child was born at the time, when the child was born, were the parents married? If the parents were married, paternity for that child or children has already been established, surely based on the fact that the parties were married at the time the child was born. The second way is through genetic testing. The court, the family court here in Delaware, or the child support program can order through an administrative process for us here at Child Support, through an administrative process with permission from both parents, we can help get genetic testing set up and administered for both parents and the child. And those results are then sent to the child support program, and we submit it to the family court, who will then create a child support order. And the family court can also schedule paternity through genetic testing, and usually that requires a hearing first, and then the scheduling of genetic testing, and then another hearing that the courts would do to establish a child support order. And then the third way is through the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity program. And that's really about both parents saying, hey, I want to acknowledge that I'm this child's parent. There's a form that they both fill out. They sign in front of a notary. And then the Office of Vital Statistics will add the parents' names to the birth certificate. The parents can also go to a court, you know, if they go to a court hearing and they want to acknowledge paternity on the record, the courts will certainly put that in an order and acknowledge that both parents, you know, have said in open court that they are the parents, and they'll sign off on that. So it's either through marriage, genetic testing, and or the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity process, acknowledging that I'm the biological father, and the Office of Vital Statistics will add your name to the birth certificate. So I always like to mention paternity because it's so important for that child to have paternity established, to know who where their bloodlines are, who the biological mom is, who the biological dad is, and you know, medical reasons, financial support, Social Security benefits paid to that child will only be done if paternity has been established, if one of the parents dies. So it's important to get that done. So if you're a grandmom and you're listening to this video and you don't think paternity has been established for your child, talk to your children about it, and we can help them. We will notarize voluntary acknowledgments of paternity for free here at the child support offices. Our 3 offices, we will do that, and we will. There's no charge. We will help you complete the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity and help you get it filed with the Office of Vital Statistics. And even if you went to the Office of Vital Statistics, they would help you do it. They would help you acknowledge paternity. Very important for children here in Delaware and around the country. Just making sure there's no questions. The next question, this is this goes back to the original question, who must pay child support? The next question is, do we have to go to mediation to get a child support order? So when we generate and file a petition for child support with the family court, the court will schedule a hearing. And unless there is a domestic violence history between the parties, the case will automatically get scheduled before mediation. So yes, the answer to that question is you would go to mediation to see if a mutual court order could be drawn up by both parties working together with the family court mediator to establish a child support order. Now, the thing about mediation is, the hope, and they do have a very good success rate at mediation, the hope is that the parties will mediate and issue a court order will come out of mediation. But the thing about mediation is you don't have to agree. If something is totally egregious and you feel like something's not right here, you can have your hearing rescheduled before a commissioner. But I'll be perfectly frank. The thing about it is, if there's no if it's a straight up, here's my financial information, here's her financial information, and it's a real simple, there's no extra stuff going on, and with like daycare or extra costs for certain programs or whatever. If it's just plugging in the numbers and this is the bottom line, not much is going to change when you go before a commissioner. But I always encourage people to try to work together at mediation to see if you can get an end result, to have an order issued by mediation. And like I said, mediation has very good success rates. And the thing about mediation is this. They are now doing mediations electronically via Zoom, and so you don't even have to go to family court anymore. It's, a large majority, I think practically every mediation hearing now is happening by Zoom. So you don't have to miss that much time from work. You can just get on your computer or your phone and have your mediation, and then go about your day. So, but the only caveat to that is that if there is a previous domestic violence issue, those cases will automatically be scheduled before a family court commissioner. And those hearings are in person at family court, so that's how that is. But you do start off at mediation and work your way to a commissioner's hearing if there's either failed mediation or there just continues to be contempt hearing after contempt hearing for non-compliance. It's going to then be heard before a family court commissioner. How is the child support amount set? So, if anyone's been to child support mediation before or a family court hearing before, you may have heard the term the child support calculation. It's also been known as, here in Delaware, as the Melson calculation. But basically, it's a child support formula. And both parents are instructed when they get notices about having a court hearing to bring financial information with you. That is so important, and I can't stress that enough. Wherever I go and we talk about child support, I'm always talking about, if you get a letter from child support or the family court, do not ignore it, because that letter has such good information about what you need to do. Whether it's, we're going to suspend your license or intercept your taxes, and you need to call us because we want to work with you to try and help you overcome that situation happening. Same thing with the family court. If you get a letter that says bring financial information, bring a pay stub, bring 3 pay stubs, bring a tax return, you're encouraged, and I'm encouraging you too, to bring that information to court with you, because if you don't, and it comes time to use that child support calculation, the child support formula, and they say, sir, where's your financial information? If you don't bring it, they say, well, what do you do? And you say, I'm a construction worker. They flip to a big book, labor standards here in the state of Delaware, and it says, if you're a construction worker, you make $23 an hour. When you only may make $17 an hour, but they're going to use $23 an hour. So it's always important to bring your financial information so it's based off of accurate information. That child support calculation will determine the accurate amount that you're to pay. And so don't ever think, oh, I'm going to get over on the court and I'm not going to bring that financial information. You should always bring it because it's going to benefit you in the long run. Just checking to make sure there was no other questions. The next question that I want to answer for folks is, let's see here. Can I get the support amount changed? So what this means is, if the order, the previous order for child support is over 2.5 years old, we want you to contact us, because we feel at Child Support that every order should be reviewed by the family court at least every 2.5 years. So if you have an order, your last order was over 2.5 years old, you should contact us and we can help you modify that order. If either parent has what we say a substantial change in their financial circumstances, which is usually about a 10% difference up or down, we also suggest that you contact the child support office about a potential modification. Or if you're a non-custodial parent and you have a substantial change in circumstances, financial circumstances, go to the family court and file for a modification of your child support order. Because your order is now based on income that you don't have anymore from a previous, maybe a previous job that you had or something along those lines. So it's always important, every 2.5 years, or a financial change in your circumstances of about 10% either way. It's, maybe you got a bonus, you got a promotion, you're making more money now. It may be worth custodial parents seeking a modification of their child support order. To see if it would result in a change. Now, the child support calculation, if you go to the family court's website, there's one that you can use. Both parents can go and test it out and plug in some numbers and see what the change may have resulted in, and see if there would be a large enough change in the child support amount that, that would it warrant a modification being filed in the family court. So I would encourage people to do that. And I see we have a question. This office needs to get the hold times under control. I was on hold for 45 minutes last week. Simply unacceptable. So thank you for that comment, and I'll address it. As I mentioned earlier, there are in state government, we are experiencing, like a lot of private sector companies, we are experiencing a lot of vacancies, and we try hard to keep those call wait times down. But I'll be the first to admit that we have seen a spike in people on hold to our customer service unit, and but we are trying to expand those. We have ways that we can expand the phone lines to other individuals throughout the division, so that when we see call wait times are getting higher, or there's more people waiting in the queue, we do try to expand to other child support specialists that can help with answering telephone calls. So yeah, I certainly apologize that you've had to wait on hold for 45 minutes. That's not acceptable to me, and we do work monitoring the queue to make sure that when those call wait times get a little up or get a little higher, that we get more people on the telephone lines to help with that backlog. The other thing, if you're just joining this, Facebook Live event, can you go? I want you to go back to the beginning when this video posts to our Facebook page. I want you to go back to this video and watch the beginning, or maybe a little bit, a little bit from the beginning, because I talked about our customer website, and that's another way that you can communicate with us. You have to sign up through my.delaware.gov, but it would give you a chance. You could email your worker through that customer website. So please, I'm encouraging you, if you don't want to be on hold for 45 minutes, that's long. I agree with you, too long. Check out our customer website. Go to my.delaware.gov and download the child support DCSS customer website and give it a try. It will, I think, make your life a lot easier in dealing with our child support office. Another thing too, if you can, all 3 of our child support offices are open. So you can always come in and someone would be more than happy to sit down and talk to you about your particular situation. Another question in our chat or comment section, can arrears be modified? Absolutely. If a non-custodial parent wants to modify the arrears payment that's been ordered on their court, or in their court order, they can go to family court. In family court, in all 3 county courthouses, there is a pro se office. They also call it a resource center, that any person who wants to file at family court on their own, file a document, in this case it would be to modify the arrears payment, they can go into family court and speak to somebody in the resource center, and they will help them do that. They can help you file that document. Great question, and I'm really encouraging the person who wrote in on Kevin Carey. Check out that customer website. It will certainly make your life a lot easier. And go back to this video that once I post today to our Facebook page, maybe about 20 minutes in, I talk about the customer website, and it was about because I think it's Miss Edie commented that she uses it and it works great. That was about 30 minutes ago. So go back in time and check that out. So another question came in. Says, I drove downtown Wilmington on Market Street on a Saturday morning to your last event, and the building was closed. So you're referring to an event that the Remand Project, the Remand International, held in the Cultural Arts Center on Market Street. And I think it was on July 23rd. I think it was July 23rd. And yeah, I don't know why the doors were closed. There was a gentleman down there who works at the Cultural Arts Center, Wilmington Cultural Arts Center, and he was monitoring the doors for the Remand Project. And so I don't know the reason behind that. The thing that I would like you to know is this. I want to thank you for joining this Facebook Live event. You can type in a question if you have a question, and I'd be more than happy to answer that here today. The other thing is the Remand Project. I think they changed their name to Remand International. Will also be having more of those events, listening events, with us at Child Support. I believe in the city of Wilmington again, but then the hope is to have it in Middletown and then in Kent and Sussex County. So there will be more events, and we'll be posting them to our website and to our Facebook page in the future. But if you have a question, you can certainly, without giving out too much personal information, you can post it in this comment section, and I can try to answer it for you today. When I talked about the customer website, it's for both custodial and non-custodial parents. So I'm encouraging people to sign up through my.delaware.gov. I'm just trying to make sure there's no more questions. I'm not seeing any. Okay. I'll continue to monitor the comment section. And let's see here. So going back to this, we talked about modifying child support orders. Let's talk a little bit about wage attachments, also known as orders of income withholding. So in about 99% of the cases that we have here at Child Support, and out of all of the court orders, pretty much 99% of the court orders that come out of the family court here in the state of Delaware are going to have that a order of income withholding, also known as wage attachment, that it will be sent to your employer. Now, the employer does have some time to receive that wage withholding and to set it up in their payroll system. I think it's like 7 to 10 days to receive it and get it set up so that the next payroll period that comes, they'll be able to make a deduction to the income of the non-custodial parent and send that payment to the Division of Child Support Services. So, so a wage attachment will be ordered by the family court in practically 99% of those cases. So if the parent is working, the employer is obligated by law to send those payments to the child support office. Additionally, an employer cannot terminate someone because they've received an order of income withholding or a wage attachment. They must honor that wage attachment, make deductions to the person's paycheck on or before the day the person gets paid, and send those payments to child support. If a non-custodial parent changes jobs, that person, the non-custodial parent, can contact us. If they're signed up for our customer website, they can do it that way. They can call our customer service unit and tell us, I've got a new employer, and we will issue a new wage withholding to that employer. Now, sometimes non-custodial parents say, oh, I didn't see it coming out of my paycheck, and I thought you guys would catch up to me and start taking it out. It's the non-custodial parent's responsibility to let us know when they change jobs. Sometimes we get that information from other places, but the best way for those payments to consistently be made for child support so you don't get in arrears is to make those payments on a regular basis, is to let us know when you're working so we can attach your wages and have those payments sent to our office. Yeah, so it's important. Sometimes we get the information from custodial parents, sometimes we get it from non-custodial parents. It's better to just get that information to us and let us get that paperwork to a new employer. Anytime, this is very important, anytime a non-custodial parent does not see that payment coming out of their paycheck, they need to mail a payment to our office on their own until they see it coming out of their paycheck. And every court order in the state of Delaware that comes out of the state of Delaware has the child support office's address to make payments. So there's no excuses there. Now, to make payments for child support, a lot of things have changed over the years. We have a website. You can go to iPay Online to make a payment. You can drop a payment off in our Newcastle County office. We have a drop box only in Newcastle. Kent and Sussex County, you would have to mail that payment to us. And like I said, the address is on the court order. You can go to any probation office or any Division of Motor Vehicles here in the state of Delaware and make a payment through a kiosk. You can do it that way. There is a small fee, a convenience fee, I think of 3% or something like that for off the total amount that gets deducted, but you can make those payments through that kiosk. Let's see here. Don't want to miss anything. I pay online, intent to begin. Yep. Or you can check or money order. That's to make a payment at a Dropbox, something along those lines. So oftentimes we hear. I want to make sure there's no questions. Okay. Oftentimes we hear from non-custodial parents. The custodial parent won't let me see the child, so I'm not going to make child support payments. As I mentioned earlier in this video live event, visitation, custody, child support, divorce, domestic violence, they are all different things at family court. So if the custodial parent does not let you see the child, you still have to make your child support payments. The thing you want to do is deal with the custody issue, deal with the visitation issue by going to family court. And if there's already a custody order in place or a visitation order in place, and the custodial parent is violating those orders, you have a right to file at family court to have visitation, to have custody. And I encourage people to do that. But you can't stop making those payments. Payments have to come in regardless of what custody or visitation issues are going on. And I see there's a question in the chat, so I'm going to take a sip of water and we'll get to that. Any modifications are at the discretion of the judge, the court order, which makes the challenge to provide evidence to the court. How does or can your office help? So you're right in the sense that the court has jurisdiction. But if the court order is the previous order, when we're talking about a modification, is over 2.5 years old, they're going to take the financial information from both parents and they're going to plug them into that child support calculation. And really, the bottom line number is the bottom line number. So whether there's a deviation from that number, it's going to depend on a couple things. The first is whether the parties want to deviate. So if the custodial parent says, I want to take a little less, or the non-custodial parent says, I want to give a little more, the courts may consider that. The other pieces of this are, what are those other financial things that are going on in people's lives, where it's other things that may come into that calculation. But for the most part, it's what are you earning? Plug it into the child support calculation, and it's really going to determine what the bottom line is. And then any deviation would come from any other expenses. That was the word I was looking for. Any other expenses that are unusual, private school or something along those lines, that may come into effect. But really, it's based on income and what people are making and what health insurance may be available and what the cost of health insurance and that kind of thing is. So, we would file petitions for modifications on behalf of custodial parents. If a non-custodial parent wants to file for a modification, they can see a private attorney, or they can go to the resource center, or it's called the Pro Se office at family court. There's someone there that can help them file those documents. And then the other thing I forgot to mention earlier, the family court's website is very good with giving blank documents that people can fill out at home, and providing people with information about what does this line mean and what does that line mean on that petition to help them fill it out and file it with the family court. So that's another thing. I would encourage people to go to the family court's website, pull some documents down, and there are the tutor tutorials there that will help people complete those forms. So I hope, Mr. Kwan, I was hoping I was able to answer your question. There's another question. What is the current ETA on child support? I filed it in September of last year and haven't heard anything, and it's difficult getting in touch with the office representatives. So, Ms. Waters, I'm going to mention to you, just as I mentioned a couple, I'm really pushing it hard today. I'm going to encourage you, if you're having trouble reaching the child support office, if you haven't tuned in from the beginning, that's at 11:30, go about 35, 40 minutes into this video once it posts on our Facebook Live page, our Facebook video page. I encourage you to check out our customer website, and I talk a little bit about it earlier in this video, because there's alternative ways for you to reach a child support specialist through that customer website. And then the other thing I want to mention specifically about your situation here is if you filed with us in September of last year, can you send our office through a personal message some contact information? Like if you have your case number, or if you want to provide us with your name and date of birth not in this chat, but in a personal message, we can take a closer look, myself and some of my colleagues here in the director's office. We can take a closer look at your case, get you hooked up with your child support specialist, and go over the reasons why there may be a delay. To me, that's too long. If you're still waiting since September, I'd like to take a closer look at your case and find out what the delays are. So if you could send us a personal message, we certainly would like to look at that a little bit closer. There are some factors that there may be some delays, but you're looking at almost a year here, so I'm a little concerned by that and want to take a look. Some of the things that may come into effect is, just for the broader scope here, is if the non-custodial parent lives in a different state. Some of those larger states, there may be a little bit more delay involved. We're talking about like Texas, California, New York, not to point fingers at other states around the country, but if the non-custodial parent we're having a hard time serving the non-custodial parent, that may be an issue. If maybe this may not be your particular situation, but like there was a hearing and he didn't show to that hearing, and there's a capias issued, so there could be some other factors that I'd love to take a look at your case a little bit more closer. So send us a message and we'll take a look at that, and we'll do what we can to get your case back on track. Okay, so I'm glad I was able to get a couple more questions as we're kind of getting close to the end here. So maybe what I'll do is we'll go ahead and it's 12:27. I'll go ahead and kind of just do some closing comments, and then as I mentioned, if you know someone, a custodial parent, non-custodial parent, that you think would love to ask a question to me here at the Child Support Connection, we will be back next Monday, October 3rd, once a month, the first Monday of every month, October 3rd at 11:30 to 12:30. Please share that's where we're going to be, and if they want to ask a question, they can certainly join us next month. I'll be more than happy to answer any question I can. Or the third Wednesday of every month, so in September, it would be the 21st of September, I will be doing our monthly radio show with Jake Smith, 92.7, 98.5 down in Sussex County. It actually reaches Kent and Sussex County. That's 92.7, 98.5 WGMD with Jake Smith, 10 o'clock on September 21st. We take questions live on the radio. So if you have a question, feel free to call in and ask that question. And I'll be more than happy to do my best to answer it. Again, I'm going to pitch our customer website. If anyone is having trouble reaching us through the 577-7171 number, I strongly encourage you to sign up for our customer website. Go to my.delaware, that's my.delaware.gov, and go. You can pull down the app for the DCSS customer website, and you can talk to our child support specialist directly through that website and get messages from us at child support through that website, the DCSS customer website. I encourage everybody to sign up for that. So I will see everybody next month, October 3rd at 11:30 a.m. from 11:30 to 12:30. Please share and watch this video. It'll post on our Facebook page momentarily. And there's other videos there from previous Child Support Connection, so we encourage you to please watch them. If you have a question, reach out to us here at the Child Support Office, and we'd be more than happy to help you the best that we possibly can. Thank you, and everybody take care and stay safe.